So now we're going to move away from cephalopods and into the annelids. Now, yes, they're both squishy. They both wiggle around a lot, but they are different. Annelids are segmented worms. They have compartmentalized segments that lets the worm keep functioning even if an organ in one of the segments is damaged. So it's sort of redundancy. These guys move by a sequential movement of their muscles. They're going to elongate, and then after they've elongated and sort of created this plow-like forward edge, that moves through loose soil and dirt. And then afterwards, they're going to compress. So the rest of the body moves forward through muscles and pushes into that plow, pushing more dirt out of the way. So this is going to create sort of cylindrical tunnels. They get to move in a certain direction without being fully distorted. Now, each of these, it's like it's not just one part of the worm that's moving, but it's lots of different spaces along the whole worm, so that the worm is never fully distorted, never fully stretched really thin, or never fully squished really flat. There's segmentation, especially in what you might call the head. If you look at the head, it's got multiple hearts. The head, I'm sorry, the top part. It does have some cephalization. It's got a little ganglion at the top. Several hearts. And then as you go down, you've got lots of components that are redundant. They're repeated over and over and over again. Worms breathe through respiration. They directly across the skin. So you're going to get almost like a diffusion. They don't have lungs that work. So that means they need to stay moist. By staying moist, they allow for a more efficient oxygen exchange. The downside is they can't get too moist. If their tunnels flood, they still drown. They can't get oxygen out of water. So that's one reason you see all of the, after it rains, the worms are up on the sidewalk, because they can't live in their saturated burrows anymore. They would drown there. So they come up on the sidewalk. They hang out there because there's less water. They're less likely to drown. And then, of course, the rain goes away. They're stuck on the sidewalk. And sun comes out, and then they cook. So lose-lose. Yeah? Are these like the other guys where you cut them in half? No, actually, worms, if you cut them in half, you killed them. Yeah, they're dead then. It's not like how to eat fried worms or anything like that. Granted, if you're just doing it for fishing and you need bait, if you cut them in half, they still wiggle around because of the nerve reactions. But they're definitely not going to recover from that. You thought you were helping them reproduce. It's like, go, psh, be free.
My mom said, like, in each segment they have a heart, so you can cut it as long as you're not on enough segment.
Right. They have 6 hearts. The hearts are right up in one spot. So there you go. You've killed a lot of worms. Leeches are segmented worms. Leeches are annelids. Leeches used to be used by doctors to drain the bad humors from a person. Ancient medicine is fun and crazy. There used to be a belief that there are 4 humors that control the body. It was like black bile, yellow bile, phlegm, and there's one more thing. You guys don't by chance know it, do you? Oh, I think it was blood. Never mind. The 4th thing was blood, which is what this is all about. And you had to keep those humors in balance. So in order to keep things in balance, they would do bloodlettings, where they cut a person and drain some blood in order to balance things out. They used to use leeches for that, to do more of a controlled instead of taking a knife and cutting your vein, which, as you can imagine, didn't work out well all the time. They would take leeches, put them on the person. The leech would bite the person, start to draw blood, fill up with blood, and then they would just remove the leech. So like a little blood packet. Leeches are pretty cool in that regard because if you've got a leech attached to you, you don't stop bleeding. They secrete an anticoagulant. That means that your blood never clots. It just keeps flowing. Helps them feed. So kind of ancient medicine, we used to use leeches for cures. And the super cool part is we still do. Because of that anticoagulant, we don't have anything as powerful as that anticoagulant yet. We haven't been able to synthesize it, which means if you need to repair small vessels, small capillaries, like the ones that connect cartilage, the ones on the tip of your nose and your ears, If there's damage to those, one way to fix it is to allow blood to continue flowing. Those capillaries are really, really small, which means that they will, on the edges where they're bleeding, they're going to coagulate quickly, and the blood will stop moving. By applying leeches around the incision, around the cut, then you might be able to keep that tissue alive. So this person lost their ear. Literally, their ear was cut off. It was surgically reattached, but they had to make sure the blood kept flowing to the ear. So what they did was they positioned leeches all around where they reattached the ear until the tissue grew back. Pretty neat, huh? Nematodes. Nematodes are squiggly, and they're wiggly, and they're really gross. They're called roundworms. Perhaps you've heard of them. Roundworms are found all over the world. They're in every environment. In fact, if you were to go outside, get a shovel, and take a scoop of dirt, there could be 1 million of them in that dirt, in that soil. They're everywhere. You don't see them, but you're stepping on them. Not now, probably, maybe now, I don't know. These are still annelids. These roundworms are, they're nematodes like pinworms. Pinworms are sexually active organisms. So at night, the pinworm crawls out of the large intestine to lay eggs. Have you guys ever had a dog that had worms? Yeah. What do they do when they have worms? What's the symptom that dogs have?
Pot belly.
They have a pot belly, so distended belly is one thing. What else? You ever see them sort of dragging their butt along the carpet? They do that a lot when they have worms. That's heartworms, probably. There's a difference between heartworms and intestinal worms. These types of worms, okay, humans get infected with these too. Children especially, because children are stupid. Children stick lots of things in their mouth that the rest of us have determined that's a bad idea to put in your mouth. So what ends up happening is these worms hatch, they grow inside of you in your intestine, and then at night, when the light's low, they come out a little bit, they lay their eggs around the anus, and they go back into the intestine. It's not like they leave and they stay gone. It's their little home. So that causes an intense itching sensation. I think one of the biggest fears I had when my children were young and I was changing their diapers was one night in the middle of the night I'd get up and change their diaper and there'd be a worm looking at me. Absolutely frightening. And not bad, but it's just like, that's just not the thing you want to see at 3 in the morning. Never happened. Never happened. Terrified it would happen. Never happened. So, there you go. If you find that your anus is intensely itching, might be because of worms. Now you'll never forget that for the rest of your life.